How's the tech world going for you lately, Ivan?
Well, that's a very good question. I think everyone is asking that similar question. Apart from being bombarded with messages about how your job is going to be made redundant in about I don't know 3 to 6 months and things like that. But for me personally, I'm sure people are aware that I've changed continent in the last year or so,
Hmm.
and so my work situation has been a little different. So normally when I was in Australia, I would have like a full-time contract, but now I'm doing more of freelancing, trying to do freelancing stuff. And if you've been on LinkedIn or if you've talked to a bunch of people, and it seems to be all around the world, Drupal jobs are pretty hard to come by these days. And and I know myself because I'm on LinkedIn, because I'm playing the game, as they say. I'm like,
Yep. Yes.
because because I'm on LinkedIn, I see a lot of messages from a lot of I don't want high-end Drupal people. I don't know what you call them. P, Drupal contributors that are well known looking for jobs. And and when you see
Yep.
that they're struggling for jobs, it's like, oh, straight away I'm like, well then should I be worried? Because if they're having trouble finding jobs, how about myself? Now, luckily, I have been able to work, but not in like a proper full-time capacity. And so this got me thinking: is it is it time to kind of look at other stacks? And what I mean by that is start playing around with Symfony. I know that I follow, I forgot the person's name, but I follow one person on Blue Sky. That's the the new
Yeah.
Twitter, if you call it that. And they started posting things about Symfony. And I've known of I've known of Symfony for a very very long time. I used version 1 in my first web developer job, which I originally got employed for, thinking I'm going to do
It's been
Drupal.
around that long.
Or it has, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been around for a very long time. It was essentially originally it started off like a PHP version of Ruby on Rails, essentially. And so I used version 1, but then version 2, version 3, like it full on like a rewrite. And so I've played around with it, dabbled with it a bit. I've played around a lot more with Laravel, but seeing that Drupal uses Symfony components, I started looking at Symfony a lot more now. And I like it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Of course, the first thing I'm like, oh, do I need to recreate a authentication system again? And that was one of my
Yeah.
things that really got me into Drupal, was that I don't want to have to rebuild the same authentication system over and over and over again.
Yeah. It's
But
a turnkey website. Turn it
exactly,
on.
exactly,
Website.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But luckily, there are I think bundles and things like that that are available for Symfony. But that's why I do kind of also like Laravel, because Laravel has a lot more package. Like it's kind of tough to explain. So based off my research, is like you have Symfony. Okay, well no, well let's start. Okay, you have PHP. If you want to go absolutely crazy and want to just write PHP, you can write PHP. And then you have Symfony components, which you still need to kind of bolt a lot of things together, but it's fast. That's one thing I noticed. That I set up a pretty basic model and a form, and I had a little what is it, like I forgot what it's called, but like a developer toolbar at the bottom. And it's great to see 2 queries, 3 queries, page loaded up in like 0.1 seconds.
So
You
this is like Laravel's like Drupal dev
yeah,
console
yeah,
on steroids thing
dev console
that
comes from
I've read
Symfony.
about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The web developer console is actually from Symfony, I believe. So it is absolutely amazing seeing just how fast you kind of forget using Drupal, just how fast a non I don't want to say bloated, but Drupal has a lot of functionality. But a lot of these stuff, like
Yes.
just how fast it can be. And so, yeah, I was playing around with it, but it got me thinking, and then I thought straight away, this would be well. you actually recommended this as a topic for an episode because you were like, we need to record something, and I just threw this out, and you're like, you know what, that's a good thing, and we're just going in here starting to record straight away. So as developers, when do we start looking for, well, trying to learn other stacks? Because for me, Symfony is very close to, it's all PHP, and the concepts are very similar.
Yeah, that's what, because I've very shortly, like that's 18 months ago, had a quick dabble in Symfony, and it was weirdly familiar and also annoyingly different to what I knew from Drupal. So it's very
weirdly familiar and annoyingly. That's an awesome quote, man.
Yeah, well, because so much of it was familiar, but then you had to do it in a different, and it was hard to know what were Drupalisms and what were Symfony-isms, because I learned Symfony, I learned Drupal Symfony, and it's changed, and you don't know what Drupal changed. It's like kind of learning that was hard. But then Laravel seemed to have, over the past 6 years, there was around the same time that Drupal was picking up Symfony, Laravel seemed to be emerging, and of course, it's just like everybody seems to rave about Laravel these days. So I find it interesting that you're talking about going into Symfony, because what I'm seeing out on the community is lots, going, Laravel's the savior of community. Like, it's PHP's not dead, Laravel's here, right? Kind of sentiments.
One thing to understand, Laravel, as far as I'm aware, Laravel uses Symfony components. So it's all this intermingled, where you have these Symfony components, Drupal uses them, Laravel uses them. And so for me, it makes perfect sense to stick to the PHP ecosystem. I would love to be able to just drop everything and learn some other new language. And, for me, the other option is to, utilize more of like Next.js.
React.
And React, because you can kind of see that. And I did see a very interesting article about how this whole vibe coding, there we go, we should have had a little ding ding, when are we going to start talking about AI and vibe coding, is that because the AIs are trained on JavaScript, React, and Next, everything,
and
Python, you might see this like monoculture of every single now website is going to be Next.js. And that's what I feel like it kind of is, where if I want to utilize these tools, do I have to use Next.js because the LLMs work best on that? But I think the most important thing, myself. Yeah, but I think the most important thing is that when you think about the paradigm of what a site is, if you understand it from a technical standpoint in Drupal, it's very easy to understand how to use in Symfony and, say, Laravel. And what I mean by that is that you have your controller, you have your Twig templates. Essentially, Symfony uses Twig as well, and then you have your Blade. Or with Laravel, there seems to be like three other. There seems to be three ways to render HTML, which is a bit annoying, but good, because it gives you choice. But then straight away when you're setting up a project, it's like now you get to choose to use 3 or 4 different ways of the site you set up.
I hate choice.
And and it's kind of like, I don't know which one to use. Do I want to use React? Do I want to use Vue? Do I want to use, what's the other one? Like Blade. There's also Inertia. There's all these, there's too much choice.
That is the great thing about AI nowadays. You can go, hey, give me all the pros and cons of these. Which one's your recommendation on the appropriateness for my particular situation? I love ChatGPT for that. Yeah. I've been given this choice, nut it all out. All right, that one. It makes it easier to make a decision if you tell it to.
Or even better, tell it to switch, because apparently switching, of course, is hard after you've built the project. But then use AI, and there you go. Somebody should actually develop something like that. Use AI to be able to switch between the different options. Why not? It's just like, all right, I was using React, now I want to use Vue. All right, redo all the code.
Interesting point. Because this is a funny thing, because I've been working on some personal projects. Mm-hmm. Noticing people experiencing not having Drupal jobs. I got out just before all that happened, so I'm building my own projects anyway. And I've been making heavy use of like ChatGPT because I happen to have an
Yeah.
account for it. Everyone's using things like Coda and Cursor, which I haven't really looked at. But then I started at one point building little bits and pieces that are coming together in a whole. And I think I showed you one of the projects I did it because it's like I've been wanting to learn Python for years, and I work with ChatGPT. Just give me the Python scripts, and all right, how does that work? Explain. Learn Python so quick because it's like, write the script up now, explain it to me, and why does Python do that, and what's that? Without having to Google every little thing or read a tutorial, you just give me the code that does what I want to do. Now tell me why. What's this? What's that? Why? All right, cool. Now I can. Kind of, I've written Python before. It's not like I didn't know it. And it's not like it's so much different to PHP that you can't just
it's very easy to
see
read.
a loop and an if statement. But that's the thing now. I've got a few little utilities I've built that are in Python that I'm building something in Drupal. I've gone on to use those utilities. So now, as a pragmatic approach, I'm just doing a system call to a Python script. But that's your point. So I'm going, I don't think it'd be that hard to take that Python script and go do that in PHP. It's almost, it's not going to change. It's pretty much structured the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you get to massive big controllers and classes and broken down into doing that. But when you've got a pretty simple script, a one-to-one conversion these days is pretty easy to do. I think that's an interesting point.
And that's
changing technologies is a lot easier than it's ever been.
And that's what I think, that's where I feel like AI is really going to shine. Because we're now probably going to be talking about AI. But anyway, the funny thing is that I canceled my Copilot, GitHub Copilot subscription because it was up for renewal. And I noticed that there's so many things out there changing and moving quickly. And it's like, I don't want to spend another $100 and be locked into this. Because with Google Workspace, I use that for my business. You get a bunch of AI stuff and Gemini, and the Gemini stuff now is very good. Is very good. Even the coding part. Of course, you can't integrate it nicely into your IDE. Well, there is a plugin for, I believe, VS Code, but I need to be using my personal Gmail account. But for me, I do a lot of my vibing. Wait, where is my vibe coding? I actually do that
by various definitions.
Yeah, I actually prefer to do that outside of the editor because I've noticed that it's a lot easier for me to kind of package up something, and it's like, okay, I want AI to build this JavaScript component that integrates this, and this. All right, well then I'll just use the browser, and Google has what is it? It's called AI. I think if you type the AI Studios. So if you go to ai.google.dev or something, or Google it, no pun intended. But
I went there once for about 10 minutes and didn't go back because there's too many things to look at.
There's too many things, but you do get a lot. You get access to a lot of the the large Gemini 2.5, which has a token limit of like 1 million or like 2 million or something tokens. And so I like to chuck things in there, and I just give it JavaScript code. I give it bits of code, and I ask it to generate it, and it does a pretty good job of it. And so, long story short, I thought, I'm not going to renew GitHub Copilot. And also, they put in new restrictions, which meant on the number of premium requests you can do, whereas before they didn't really enforce it. And so for me, it was the best value for money. It was hands down the best value for money. Now, all of them are putting in restrictions.
Yeah.
And so
the puppy dog close.
Well, yeah, the VC money.
You get used to having it for free, and now we're gonna take it away from you unless you pay for it.
Exactly. It's kind of like Uber was like really cheap because VC money was pretty much subsidizing all of your costs. I think similar to these AI coding platforms, VC money has kind of subsidized it because it's expensive stuff. So, but I think Windsurf has like $500 a month, and Cursor. And so I am kind of keen to try Cursor. That seems to be the what everyone is.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff. We are so talking about AI. What do you got? OpenAI's in the process or has just bought Windsurf.
Yeah.
What do you got? And then you're talking about Cursor. Microsoft's pushing all their because VS Code, they're licensing around VS Code. They're like, no, you can't use these toolings in unless you got to use VS Code if you're going to use the AI stuff. Trying to put Cursor out of business. You know me though. I'm very open source. I'm using NeoVim. I was literally researching the other day because I'm putting a course together for that. How do I integrate AI like Cursor like stuff in NeoVim? And it's like there's these projects. You know, I love AI because you go, which one's the most popular one that's most likely to be the one that gets picked up, which is the one I should focus on the most? I go, probably this one. You go, thanks. It might be wrong, but it's right. It's a gamble every time you pick a new tech anyway.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting, all these tools, because there are a lot of open source. There's more open source around than I thought there was. Now, they might not be as good, but if you use them in little atomic jobs, they're not so
exactly. Now, coming back, reverting back to the original question, not about Drupal jobs. I mean about refactoring. One thing I've noticed that the quality of the code that is returned from any of these AI platforms really depends on the right prompts and giving it the right information. Garbage in, garbage out. We all know that. And so a lot of people struggle with not explaining what they actually want. And that's why I think for us developers, we still have a couple of years because clients have no idea what they want. And I've brought this up many times that as a web developer, developers focus too much on the stack platform, the stack. We use this, we use this, we use this. At the end of the day, the client does not give a crap about that. They don't care. They just want a problem solved. And my experience has been, especially working for 15, nearly 20 years or something, I'm starting to feel old, is that the client doesn't care what version of Drupal you're using, or if Drupal can't do this and can't do that and this and that. All they want is a problem solved. And so I feel like a soft skill as a developer is listening, first of all, then either having experience of dealing with what the client has dealt with, because often websites are very similar. Websites haven't really changed that much. And so often a client will come in and say, oh, we want to do this, this, and this. And then you're like, well, no, actually what you want to do is that, and that, and we can easily do it because I've done it before. So if you want AI to kind of rebuild things, well, it's actually much easier for it because it has an existing platform. It's got an existing state of the code. So you can say, copy. So here's a PHP project. Convert it from PHP to blah. You know what?
Yeah, it's already architected. Yeah.
I'll be curious to see if we could do that with Drupal. Imagine that. Pointing AI to a Drupal site and telling it, convert this into a Next.js site. There you go. That's a project for me for this weekend.
No, that's right. I've wondered a few times how many tokens would the whole Drupal code base take up. Right?
Oh yeah, true. And you know what? That would be, imagine that, converting, or the other way, converting. But no. You would have to figure out all the routes. So let's say you have a Next.js site with like 10 pages or something like that. Can you then do some type of AI thing to then convert it into a Drupal site? See, that's pretty. I don't know.
I've talked to you about that little project I've got to take a spreadsheet that defines a Drupal site and builds the Drupal site out of the spreadsheet. They can't be that hard to go from, even if you went in steps like that, like analyze this site.
Oh yeah, analyzing it. Yeah.
Identify all the files you need in this spreadsheet, and now the next bit you don't need AI. There's a script that already knows how to read the generated config and go boom.
Yeah. And I do think
it's going to get interesting moving 5-10 years. It'll be fascinating, but at the moment,
well, that is all purely possible now. The only thing is, so the last time I looked at the Drupal AI stuff, there you go, another ding, Drupal AI. It was using some I think it was a library called unstructured or something like that helps you convert stuff into like a structured format, which then you can then give to Drupal and get it to generate content types and things like that. So that is all possible right now. The code is there. The only thing you need to do is get AI to look at the schema, or even better, if you have a Next.js site that is utilizing GraphQL and it has a schema definition, mate, that's going to be easy stuff. Yeah. That's simple stuff. You've got this whole structure, the whole structure defined.
It's interesting at this point of having a human in the mix there somewhere.
Absolutely, you still need a human.
That's that's because I know, but I'm using ChatGPT a lot to write my code. The amount of times it does something, and you're like, no, not like that. Like that, and you tell it, no. I want you to break that class out and put that one, and don't do that. You should do, and you don't need to write it. You don't need to rewrite it. You just go use this approach instead. And it's so sycophantic these days. It's like, oh, that's a great idea. Now you're thinking like a real architect. Oh, thanks, ChatGPT. It's always pumping your tires up. But, it is interesting that it's as an experienced developer, you can look what it's done and you go, like that's
absolutely. And that's happened to me a lot.
It's not like it doesn't work. It's just that's not But even sometimes I go, rather than tell it it's wrong, you go, is that the most maintainable way you could do that? And it goes, no, you could do this. And you go, that's right? That's just knowing to ask the question, right? You don't need to know the more maintainable. But a lot of cases, I do know the most maintainable way to it. But often my prompt is let it work it out for itself, of course, because sometimes I'm just curious, will it figure it out?
Absolutely. I recently had it where I was this was on a Drupal site, and I just wanted to write some jQuery, call me old fashioned, but if I'm going to stick to jQuery, I'm going to stick to jQuery. Then he goes ahead and writes a whole bunch of vanilla JavaScript. Fine. I understand that. But it then ended up writing 20 lines for something that I know can be done in 2 lines of code. And so then I ask it, I go, can you rewrite this in jQuery to make it more efficient and utilize less code? And of course it's like, oh, that's a great idea. It's like, it spits it out.
That's like, a fascinating.
I go, that's great. But also it's thrown up a bunch of other things where I was like, I have no idea what this code is. It works. And then I asked it to actually explain it. And then he explained it. And I kind of learned something as well. I'm like, oh, I didn't know JavaScript could do that. It's like,
I'm loving. Sometimes you ask it to do something, it generates code, and you're like, "Oh, that's great, right?" Just because it's thrown in some technique that I didn't know about, and you go, "Oh my god, I would have written a page of code. You've done it in 3 lines.
Yeah,
explain to me how that works." And it goes boom, boom, and you go, "Great, right?" Just little. But then sometimes I have trouble remembering the exact syntax of things. It'll throw out this nice little clever little closure with a ternary in it. Okay,
yes,
that would have taken me an hour to figure out just how to. I would have written it different. Of course, it was easier.
Yeah,
but that's way better. And that's it's this playoff between some people just want to hate on it, go vibe coding's terrible. I don't think what I'm doing comes under the proper definition of vibe coding. Like vibe coding, go build me a website, doesn't work, try again, doesn't work, and you never look at the code. Whereas I'm very much. I've got an automatic typewriter, it's like, give me a class that does this, right? And that's even telling it, don't write the whole class, just write this bit. All right, cool. We've got that working. Yeah. So you're still reviewing the code as it goes through so much quicker. Like it's, Just Generate used to be great because you go, generate me funny enough, I was using it the other day.
Just Generate is great.
But it's interesting telling ChatGPT, asks it something and it dumps out this whole bloody service, and I'm like, I kind of prefer to use Just Generate. It's like, can you just tell me the values I need to put into Just Generate to do it instead? It goes, yeah, sure, I'll do the. Okay, cool, boom, right? Now I know I've got Just Generate's output instead. But then after a while, I got like its tendency was to write the whole service yourself. I'm like, meh, I've got, like that. So I'm just got to copy that, copy the service in, review it. Go. It's funny how often you miss things, though, because it does stuff, and you read through it, you go, oh, looks good to me, and you run it, go, poof. And you go, oh yeah, right, that's but then also really surprised how often it does stuff that's probably better than I would have done it anyway in about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
like that's what I mean. Like that's it's improved my code quality in the sense of a project I'm working at the moment. Built a queue worker, right, and then I've gone, I don't think this logic should, the queue worker should just be calling out to a service. Hey, ChatGPT, see this queue worker, write that out as a service and give me the queue worker calling that. Instead it goes, here you go, yeah, boom. Right, that the amount of times you wouldn't bother doing that in the real world, because it's like, well, it works as it is, but it's so much more maintainable having it in a service. Now you can just go, hey, ChatGPT, convert it to a service. It goes, here you go. It's what's the word? So low friction to write.
Yeah.
See, and it's from all these people complaining about it's writing bad code, but it's also enabling me to write much better code, much quicker, right? But I need that experience to go, because when I asked it to do it, it put all the logic into the queue worker, and I'm like, can you put that in a service instead? It goes, and then it goes, that's an excellent idea. That's way more. I love it. So,
Well,
yeah, it's an interesting. This is interesting the way, like, I see a lot of people polarized. Some people going, AI is great, you just close your eyes and it does magic, and other people going, it's totally incapable of writing anything good at all. And obviously the truth somewhere in the middle.
Well, it's just a tool. Like, for me, it is a code generator. Well, that's what it is, but I treat it as a code generator. It's just a smarter version of that. We can ask it more questions. And
well, it generates something. You can go, no, generate it different. Okay,
exactly.
Thanks. Like, you can't do that with it. Yeah,
exactly. And a lot of these vibe coders use a method where they write out a PRD, so a file that kind of explains.
Spell out the what's a PRD? A project requirements document.
Is that what it is? I don't know. Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I'm guessing PRD. Yeah, vibe coding PRD. Is it a PRD? Is that what it's called? I know, prompt requirements document. That's the first thing I got. Product requirement. Oh no, product requirement documents. Yeah. And that's actually, that I think itself is a smart idea, because it gives you a way of actually documenting what you want. Because you need to explain it to AI. And I do like that concept of having a document that actually explains it. Because, like, I don't know about yourself, but I know with me, I'm always walking around somewhere, I'm out going for a walk, and straight away I've got an idea. It's like, oh, this will be a great SaaS application or something like that. And straight away I kind of write it down on my phone, and I put a few sentences down on what it's meant to be. And then other times I try and explain it in a bit more detail. But then when I do put one or two sentences, I sometimes look at it a month later, and I'm like, what did I write about? It's like, what is this actually about? So if I can force myself to write one of those product requirement documents, it's a nice way of just getting it out of your head and actually having a physical document which works as documentation.
Because you can use AI to help you write it too.
Well, absolutely, yeah. There are services out there. I
just sit there and go, this, I want this, and you just don't have to structure it. You just kind of go a big brain dump of sneezing on the page of all your ideas, and you go, can you structure that into a nice refined document for me, please? It goes, boom. That bit, damn it. And then you got to go and edit it yourself, because that's wrong. That's wrong.
That's wrong. Yeah.
That's the opposite of what I meant, right?
Yeah.
That's but still, it's already quite well, it's nice, puts polish on things.
Yeah,
you can use it as a great code polisher.
But also documentation. Fantastic. Everyone forgets about nobody documents things. Everyone hates documentation. The client has no idea what they want. They literally give you one line. They literally give you one line sentences. Optimize, make sure it's optimized for mobile, or like fix mobile issues. Okay, what exact issue are you talking about? It's like, just explain it.
See, that's what I kind of mentioned it to Jamie before about bad code, and he says, well, people won't keep, if the code's bad, people won't pay for it, sort of response. I've been thinking about that ever since, because I'm like, yeah, but they do. Because people don't know. Right? But code that works and code that's good are not synonymous.
Yes.
Like
and for people who don't know, Jamie is one of the Drupal AI.
Not the poo-poo that, but I've just been thinking that, because Jamie's fantastic. Love Jamie. He's doing so much cool stuff. But that's what I've been worried about with this AI stuff, is because first thing I went, finally, no one's got an excuse for writing messy code anymore. Like this, if you're not writing comments, why not? Chuck it in ChatGPT, go comment that, right? Because it does a really good job. Analyze this class, write a file.comment that explains what it does. Like, it's kind of, because that'll take you an hour or two and a headache.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Or like the doc blocks as well. Like, just go right click. You can even use the free GitHub Copilot for that. Just right click.
But of course,
document.
What are people doing instead? They're vibe coding. They're like, write me some code, and you're like, like there's. I think it's going to put a divide in there a little bit. Like, there's going to be a lot of the people who write good, clean, care about maintaining their code are going to write cleaner, more well-documented, more maintainable code. And there's going to be a plethora of random generated muck that's you're going to think it's great until you come along a year later and you go, we need to update this now. And you can check it back in AI again, but at certain points, we're going to become unwieldy even for the AI, right?
Yeah. Well, this did kind of get me thinking just now as you were talking about it. Is a slump of Drupal jobs because of AI?
Is it just Drupal jobs?
Well, there seems to be a slump everywhere. Like, every industry is a bit down.
Yeah. I've absolutely had personal conversations with people who aren't working in Drupal. It's just fascinating.
And it kind of started, I know when I was at Drupal South last year, there was chats about how, the market, especially for work for Drupal agencies, is a bit up and down. And that was over a year ago. So
funny, interesting that my little Drupal for content managers course is still getting 2 or 3. I didn't get any enrollments in April, but I've had 3 this month, which is pretty standard.
Oh, good. Awesome.
And it's like, so there's no jobs, yet there's still a market for a course with a basic intro.
Yeah.
Like that's it's like, so it's not making millions. I'm getting 2 or 3 enrollments a month, but 2 or 3 enrollments a month is like there's
demand
a certain
for
level
it.
of demand. But
absolutely, because I see stuff on my YouTube channel. There's people are watching Drupal content. Of course, it's not like yesterday. Somebody mentioned to me that they like my videos, and I'm the equivalent of that. What is it? Fireship or Drupal, and I took that as a compliment. Great, but I wish I had his subscriber count. That's for sure. But it's good to see that
he's been around for a while. I noticed a video of his, because I thought he was pretty new, but I saw a video of his 6-year-old video.
His videos are awesome. Like, I subscribe to his channel and watch them because they're nice, compact. It's always good to watch them, and so there is demand for it. There is demand for Drupal. It's just people aren't. I don't know if people are building actual big platforms in Drupal these days. I don't know, because sometimes I feel like, I would love to just be able to build a Drupal site from scratch, and I am kind of doing that on my own stuff because I am trying to build out stuff for myself.
I think there's a few people going out on a, kind of, it is interesting because I'm here by choice. Like, I just went, I'm done. just at the same time, just at the right time, seemingly. But I know other people that are working on passion projects.
Yeah.
And that's a long play. I'm doing this. I'm trying to rip out, my little video captions generator.
Yeah.
I've been putting so much work into that because within the next few days, I'll have a demoable prototype that works on my website instead of on my laptop. Because it needs a GPU to run the transcription stuff.
Oh, very
Been
nice.
doing a lot of work to spin up a. But I want to launch that because I think there's a market. There's obviously software that does things that do that, but there's also this. Yeah, but I'm not going to charge you a $15 a month subscription fee, and it's not all whiz bang. It's just you can set up your branding and you get the exact same. Get the exact same styles and the exact same logo on there every single. Like start out really small, but I'm building that because I'm building it for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm producing content, right? And that at the moment, I go out and the moment takes you. You're going to go and record a video, and then it's like, well, now I've got to take it home, upload it to a, because I've got a captions generator that styles it, but I want it on my website. So when I'm out there, I can just upload, record, and not even upload. I've got it all running in the browser. It's interesting because it's leading to something we wanted to talk about. So I want to get to that point where I just record a video, upload it to my site, sticks my logo, sticks my captions on there, and then renders it. I've got a video that I can now send to Facebook, Instagram. It's done. It's ready. I can just put it across all platforms and then just click go. Instead of having to record it on Instagram and edit on there or CapCut. I don't know what CapCut costs, but I'm just so anti-proprietary. I'm not using CapCut. But I don't want to have to edit. But also, it's not an editing tool. It's it's just you upload the video. It goes, there's a logo up here. There's your type captions down there. There you go. It's the same like McDonald's, right? It's the same every time, but it's what I want, and it's done, and it's quick. I think there's a market for that, so I'm trying to get that out, basically because I want to use it. But I'm building that in Drupal and leading into. I ended up learning. Of course, I put a bit of time into learning React a couple of years ago. Haven't picked it back up, but then with ChatGPT, I didn't want to use React, but I was trying to install FFmpeg WASM, like the WebAssembly FFmpeg, because I don't want to have to upload because it takes 15 minutes to upload the video to my website. So I want to just encode it in the browser, take the audio out, upload the audio instead, and then transcribe that and send it back so I can do it all faster.
Yeah.
Do you think I could get that FFmpeg WASM to install in plain Node or with Webpack or with Vite or no. Ended up going to ChatGPT, go, what the hell's going on? Like, of course, there's all these different blogs that says it just works, and the documentation says run npm install, and it just and it says I've been at this for like 12 hours, and it goes, they're doing it in React. How do I start a React project? It just goes, React create project. You go, all right, spin up a React project, FFmpeg, npm install FFmpeg, boom. So it's like, well, that's when you're talking about learning other tech. It's like, well, I'm learning React now through pragmatism.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
No, totally.
Because I couldn't get FFmpeg to work in anything else. So it's like, oh, well, I'm going to put a React front end. Got to decide whether I make that a single page app or just convert it into a component I can stick on Drupal's media page. I think I'm just going to make it. But now it's changed the direction of my project in that sense. So now I'm building a separate front end to my existing Drupal website just for this particular tool. But there's learning other projects, right? And that's AI is making that really quick because I did a basic rundown of React that never actually built much out of it, but I played with a few had basic ideas of what JSX is and how components work and use states and use effects, and not that familiar. But then ChatGPT can kind of just generate it up to a point. I know it got sort of certain complicated, like it's not working. A ChatGPT was way off base about what was wrong with it. I just sit down and go through the code myself. And in combination with it, you got to tell it that it's not like it doesn't automatically pick up what's wrong with the code. Like you put something on it, is broken, and go, well, check out this code. It goes, that's great. You go, it's not. It doesn't work. So sometimes, but at a certain level of complexity, you had to get there and do the debug. But I'm still using it to go, can you just take this file and put a bunch of debug print statements in it for me, please. And it gives you the same thing back out. And then you put it in your Git diff and you go, cool, didn't change anything else. Right. And that just saves you so much time. And I don't think that's vibe coding. When you're working with an AI to go, can you just stick a bunch of debug statements so we can see what's going on here and get some insight into what's actually happening? And then you feed it the results of those inputs, and then it identifies the problem for you. Now, but you still need those average dev tools of the debugging approaches. So once you don't need to do the debugging yourself, but you need to guide the AI through the motions, right? It's
Absolutely.
Really,
and that's where just experience, just understanding how it works, plays a huge part. And you don't need to be an expert. Like you just need a bit of experience and understand, okay, I want to use an array here. I want to use a variable here. Okay, what is the equivalent of an array in TypeScript? What is the equivalent of like an array of objects in this and that programming language?
Yep.
Once you understand that, it's like, okay, yeah, this is looking good. And also, when it starts spitting out code and you don't understand it, that should be a red flag for you. And just stop and be like, I need to be able to understand this because I know I'm going to have to fix it up. That's the thing with me. It's kind of like when you get a bug that's a bug and then all of a sudden it starts working, you're like, oh, no. It's going to come back, and it's going to come back on a Friday afternoon when you have to do a hotfix deployment or something, and it's going to happen in production. It's always in the back of your head. So no, you want to know what the code is doing and use AI to figure it out, to tell you what it is and just give you a breakdown of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the classic thing I did yesterday with putting because I've got a thing, I've got a service that calls out to go and provision a GPU, right? But I put that in a queue, right? When you generate captions, don't do it straight away. I want to put that in a queue because I've got lots of people doing it. I don't want them all happening at once, right? So it's put the logic in the queue, but then knowing to go put that logic in a service. So then the queue worker, all that does is manage the queue, the provisioning thing. And as soon as you got the service, you go, because if I come along and I don't want to use fast AI, I can swap the provisioner out, right? But if you didn't know how to architect that, the AI would have just gone, I'm putting it all in the work, which you can come to the AI later and go, I want to use this other service now. Can you rewrite that worker to do it? There is that argument to be made. You don't need it modular because AI can just rewrite your junk. Right? But I don't know. I don't know going forward. I think there's going to be this divide. That's what I really think. There always has been, that divide between people writing crap, unmaintainable slop, and then moving on to the next job, and then the cleanup crew coming through and getting a headache and having to maintain. I mean, the amount of times I know a lot of people who made their whole career out of picking up someone else's project that was a complete mess. I got a mate, he loves it. He goes, I love working on these broken, horrible websites. Oh, I hate it. But the amount of times that's what's been my bread and butter. They go, we've got this new project, we're fixing this website, and they hand you, and you go, what the hell is this crap?
When was the last time you built a Drupal site from scratch? I can tell you, with me, I've not built a greenfield project for a very long time.
Yeah, we've discussed that before.
And it's just, that's pretty much, but I also, for me, it's like.
But now you can just fix this. You just paste it in, go fix that, right? Tell it fix it.
Absolutely.
Because it used to take you hours. Like you couldn't fix it all. It'd take you months. But now you can take a whole class and just go in a very short amount of time. But then everyone else is working faster. Like it's still, you might be a lot. I don't think anything's changed. I can write better quality code faster, but the people making the mess can write that faster too. So the arms race continues, right?
Well, exactly. It's like, because also, there's a lot of discussion about how companies are no longer employing developers and this like that, because, AI is going to do it, AI is going to do it. And I feel like no one's discussing about outsourcing and offshoring. If companies did realize that it's cheaper to find cheaper labor elsewhere and just get them to write code, but they still had to employ developers to kind of maintain that code as well. So I feel like it's just going to be a similar thing. You still need to explain to the AI what you want built. That's the problem.
Well, I think it's similarly in the design world. What's in that? Theo.gg. watching him, and he mentioned that his team of designers is now one because he can do so many. Because he can just use AI to do the mock-ups and do the if he's got a little flippant little thing he wants to whip up, go here, give me. I don't care about it. Just give me a design, and it goes. But he says I still need a designer on my team because there's a certain level of finesse that's still necessary.
Yeah.
But the team's got, and I think we're going to get the same thing. That's happened to so many industries before, right? How many blacksmiths do you have making horseshoes for horses these days, right?
Well,
they're still around, and they tend to be artisans and very specialists at their job. But back in the day, there was one on every street.
Yeah.
Right. That was So I think that's going to be an interesting. That's changing. It's absolutely, definitely changing.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about learning other projects. So that's why I've been whipping stuff out in Python. Part of an exercise in I've always it's been too much. PHP was the path of least resistance. I forced myself to do it in Python, sort of telling myself, got to stop being a stick in the mud about it. People recommend Python. I'm going to go. And now I'm wishing I'd written in PHP because I'm plugging it into Drupal anyway.
Well, right, that's the same thing. Yeah, with me.
Yeah. And then, but also if I release it open source down the track, there's a benefit to being a popular language. If I put it out in Python, there's more people likely to use it, maintain it, develop it, change it. Right. So I'm like, do I do 2 versions of it? Do I take those Python scripts and convert them to PHP? At the moment, I've done the dirty little system call, but I could wrap it in a Flask thing and build an API around it and let Drupal call the API. And like, there's all sorts of ways forward. But learning Python to an extent, like that's because you could be I tell chat, I'm a PHP developer, explain that code, what's this, what's that, and it's this is equivalent to a hash, like a named, like I don't even know the PHP term for it, right? But that's the this week, what's that doing? And it's kind of just those little nuances. Tell it to me in PHP language what it's done, but then learning React rather quite quickly, because you hit the ground running. That's what it does.
Yeah,
like absolutely. I don't need to learn React. I can learn React after as I build it, not.
Exactly.
You don't need to spend ages doing a 4-week course before you're actually able to deal with the nuances of the annoying things it does.
Yeah.
Because it turns out code that works, and you go, all right. Mind you, even in React, it's helpful to know that there's approaches to making sure it doesn't re-render. You got to do things in the right order, or it ends up re-rendering and changes your scope on you and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and like putting a key on the elements and things like that.
Yeah, and if you just got it to generate it, you might not like. There's definitely value to having a proper education so that you can know what the AI is doing. What's the analogy of driving a car though? You don't need to be a mechanic to drive a car, right? You don't need to know how an engine works. It's a little bit helpful to know how a clutch works when you're going to use a clutch, right? But they're also, but that's all you need to know is that it takes fuel. You turn the key and you steer it and you press the accelerator, right? That's all you need to know. But there are still mechanics.
Oh yeah.
It's so I think that's interesting. There's going to be a space to see what happens. But that's the world's changing significantly. Like that's I'm building little SaaS projects of my own to see what happens and doing other things. I mean, I've never been happier either, to be honest. Now I've got time to build things I want to do my little eBay flipping side gig I've got going, which is fun too. Like that's, but being able to build a software project and do that on the side is just, that's quite good. But so learning other technologies, because you're learning, I was surprised you said Symfony. Like that took me.
Well, it's one of those things that it's close to Drupal. I'm just trying to be. It's about just utilizing my time, and I always in the back of my head, it's like I people know me as a Drupal developer. So if I pick up the most a technology which isn't often used with Drupal, then I'm kind of starting from scratch again. And I just want to utilize the community that I've built around myself and things like that. But it doesn't mean I'm a Symfony developer right now. Like I'm not. Yeah. So yeah, if there's anyone out there that needs help with their Drupal site, you know who to call. Don't call Bevan. He doesn't like Drupal. I like Drupal. No, I'm joking. I'm just saying, you need help.
Don't call me.
Oh yeah,
I'm building my own. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll send you to Ivan anyway. So come to me. I'll refer you to Ivan, and I'll take a 10% commission.
But also because the fact that it's PHP, I feel more comfortable. And I would be able to just deploy this into production and be like, okay, yeah, I understand it. I've got experience. I've got experience with it. But at this point, I've got a few things happening. I've got my live streams happening. I'm trying to get my premium community. I'm even thinking at this point, just launching it this weekend and just being understanding that, just send it out, because, I've got a bit of anxiety with that, because it's on a WordPress site. I'm going to be cobbling kind of like a forum system together. Is it going to be good enough? But then at the end of the day, it's like
you're gonna
people.
You're gonna have to deal with that if you're going to release a Drupal community forum on a WordPress site. That's great.
Well,
fine. I think you quite within your rights. You have a WordPress site. You have it for reasons.
Well, exactly. It's like I don't have the time.
There's going to be haters.
It. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the plan is to do other content other than Drupal. Like, it's not just because I believe there's opportunity now for
TikTok dances.
TikTok dances, yeah. But there's other opportunities where you can talk about other platforms that kind of can be used with Drupal, but Drupal developers and Drupal people will find it useful. There's a ton of stuff out there. There's a ton of stuff I want to do. And so I'm even thinking of just like this weekend, just push it out there, and that's it. Because that for me is a big thing off my shoulders, where I can just kind of relax and say I've actually shipped something, even though I feel like I try and do something every day. And so
you've been putting a lot more content out recently.
Well, yeah,
you've been steadily getting more and more content.
Yeah. Because
we've been running this.
Because I'm trying to utilize my streams. So this comes down to I'm building out systems internally to kind of handle a lot of stuff. So when I do a live stream, I cut it up into videos, but then into say 4 or 5 videos. Then within those videos, you kind of have little segments of those videos that can be broken up into shorts, into text, into PDF galleries, and just trying to automate that to a certain extent where I can put stuff into a Drupal site, like a lockdown Drupal site that kind of tracks everything and then kind of generates that for me. Now that's all doable.
It's exactly what I'm envisioning too, mate.
Yeah, but the thing is, though,
think alike. Yeah,
but it goes one step further. Well, with my one is like when I create a text status, and what that is like a bit of text you want to put on LinkedIn. I want to make sure that it puts the correct footer in, so it automates that. It can also put in the correct comment, but also I want to have a long version and a short version, because Blue Sky only supports 300 characters. Be able to control that. But then to repurpose it, I want to be able for AI to say, all right, 3 months ago you posted this. Let me rephrase it and send it back up, and just automate that for you. You know what I mean? So, but I think I'm just, probably expecting too much from it to begin with. But there's just so much stuff where I feel like I have so much content on the table that I'm not utilizing. And also with like repurposing and things like that. So I've gotten better at editing the videos, because it doesn't take long for me to go into say Premiere Pro, and because I've got like a massive timeline and things like that, I'll like cut it up and I export it out and I'm done. But then I would love to have a system where I can give it the actual source files, and it kind of outlines and recommends, all right, here's a cut here, here's a cut here, and then he just automatically generates it. Because then at the same time,
I talked to you offline, Ivan.
but then at the same time, I've got the videos. Okay, that's fine. But why can't it then generate a text version of it with just carousel images.
Yeah.
Like I know with FFmpeg you can do that, and I've kind of done that in the past. But the thing is, though, automate that where straight away the system's like, okay, you posted this video, this short 30-second video on using Drush. 3 months later, it automatically generates another.
Here's a slideshow with some text. Right.
Here's a slideshow version with a rehashed text version of it. And so kind of like managing all of that. And I do think Drupal is great for like just managing the content part. And then with the ECA and Drupal AI stuff, you could then automate a lot of that stuff. Yeah. And my thing is like I've played around with like content models, and because I really want to be able to, maybe I'm overcomplicating it because I know Drupal too much, and this can be a problem where you just prematurely optimize. But being able to do that type of stuff, that's what I'm trying to build out now, and just figuring out, it's like, do I use N8N, which is like an open source workflow system, or do I do that directly in Drupal? Because I am using N8N locally in a Docker instance. I
think you and I have got similar visions, but we're coming from two different.
Absolutely.
Maybe meet in the middle, because that's that whole thing about the captions generator is part of a larger vision of that same. Because I want to be able to just upload. Yeah, that's one aspect of it. That's not because I've got long form videos. We got this podcast, right? I've been working on it. There's already got the tool that the last two, my own personal Bevan's Bench, the podcast that I did. I've got a script that just cut that up and edited it, and it did it for this with our episode with Jamie. 3 different cameras. Fascinating, because I'd love to say it's built on AI, because it damn well looks like it was, but it's not. Right? It uses FFmpeg, takes the 3 different camera streams, uses FFmpeg to figure out who's speaking when, and then does a bunch of heuristics to go, if you're speaking for a long time, put the camera on you, but don't leave it there too long. And it's all, mind you, ChatGPT helped me write a lot of those heuristics. Like, kind of you ask it, like, what's the approach to detect who's speaking? Let's try this, right? And that thing for those 2 podcasts worked really well. This is going to be another test. This one, chuck this into it and see if it just feed it. I need to align the, because they all start recording at different times, so I need to get them all in sync first. And there's ways to sync that. There's tools in Python to analyze the audio and work out. Especially when you've already got the pre-mixed track, it can bring them together in auto. But I haven't built that yet. Like, everything takes time. I'm working on the captioner thing. I've got that auto editing. So you talk about another script that similar to like CapCut, to identify little bits that look like they're interesting and stop it. So I've already got a tool that just gives you all the time codes. It doesn't do the cutting for you. I got that, and then like a content scheduler and a content generator and something to generate the titles and the captions. Because these same things, when I upload a video and I want to upload it, I don't want to come up with a title and a description. And I think in the post, they don't matter that much anyway. So like I just want AI to just put it on there. So I can just record the video, press upload, and it goes, I've put your captions in, your title on it, posted it up there.
Exactly.
Or schedule it, right? Do it all from my phone without having to rely on third-party tools. To be able to customize it for exactly what I want it to do. And never before has it been able to do it so quickly. Right? That's but that's the catch. On one hand, because you've never been able to do it so fast before, your vision, you get a lot more ambitious.
Exactly. Sometimes sometimes you just need to, because I know, like, for myself, whenever I do live streams, it's always the same set of stuff, and I've been trying to kind of automate it, because I need to come up with a title, I need to come up with a event description, but then I like to come up with a long event description and a short event description. Then I like to come up with an event description for X, Twitter, Blue Sky, that promotes it, say, a day before and an hour before. And then I like to post one which is an hour on LinkedIn, and just kind of automating that. Then it's a post summary video, which a lot of people seem to like a cut down version. Again, similar thing. I just do the same stuff. So if I can have a system where I give it the topic I want to cover, this, and just goes and generates it for me, then I go in there and I go fix it up. Even even the outline of a live stream, now that I've done it enough, I've got actual data and content there where I outline what the stream's going to be. Then just generate a draft version of that for me. So I can press one button and then it automatically does everything for me. And then I can, but leaves it in a draft format, and I just go in there, check. It's like, yep, this is correct. Sweet. Okay. This is a good thing to learn.
Yep.
And then move forward.
Yeah.
And I would love to have all of that in a single place. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm trying too much. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm working towards building something like that. You're thinking about it. There's got to be other people doing it too. Like that's
everyone's kind of doing it. It's just automating.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, you need to kind of first do it and figure out where things can be automated. And so I do have little prompts here and there that I can just chuck in and it does a lot of stuff for me. But just now tying it all together. And
that's exactly. I've got all these little tools. Got a tool here that does that, a tool here that does that, a tool here that does that. Then I take the output of that, I copy that in the ChatGPT into a pre-custom prompt. I take those bits, I copy those into there, and it's slowly taking the time out to automate more and more and more.
Yeah, absolutely.
End up with all these different tools that I go. That's funny how things go though. That's when I was working on that thing to just auto cut these podcasts for us to go identify this is an interesting bit. Because I wanted to improve it by running it through an LLM, not going to run on my GPU very well. That's where I discovered Vast AI, started writing up the provisioning scripts to pull up Vast AI so I could actually run a large version of Whisper, because the large one won't run on, I don't have enough RAM in my GPU.
Wow.
So then I wrote a thing to provision that. And after I'd done that, it's like, that's exactly what I needed to get my captions working. It's funny because I built it for that project.
Yeah.
And the serendipity of building all these little projects, and you suddenly go, I built it for that one and ended up not using it. That's exactly what I need for that is pretty cool. But then that's AI's expedited those things, because you can. The only reason I know Vast AI exists because I was asking ChatGPT, where the hell can I rent a GPU from? Because I tried Googling it, right, and it put me on the Vast.ai. And I'd love to be able to do those decision making. Read this page, reads this page. What's the pros? What's the cons?
Yeah.
Which one should I go with? And you end up going, well, I've got a lot more information to make a decision from now, because I went from nothing to making a decision, having a pretty good idea what the offerings were in about 15 minutes.
Huh. Well, there you go.
That's
all right. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it. So should you learn other technologies and other stacks if you're a Drupal developer? Why not? If you have the time, hopefully Drupal demand will pick up again. If you have the time.
It sounds like a lot of you do.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But yeah, as I mentioned, if you need help with your Drupal site, you know who to call. Call me. I'll come. Especially if you have an interesting problem.
Not joking. Call him.
No. Oh yeah, I'm serious. I will code for food. No, what is it? Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, let's just leave it there then. Cool. All right. See you all later.
Thanks.
Bye.